All right, there we go. All right, I've started the recording, I hope. And I can't see anyone. So if anyone's saying anything or trying to get my attention, please let me know, Savash.
Of course, yeah.
Okie dokie, try again. Welcome everyone to the final in our IoT MicroMasters, our capstone project in the Internet of Things. This MOOC is very different to what we've previously done in that we don't really put a lot of content up in the edX site itself. There's a lot of support material trying to help you get through the assessments and how to build the product plans, the canvas that we use to develop the plan, etc. The main thing we're trying to achieve here is to assist you in developing either a business plan or a working prototype of your IoT idea. And to do that, it really should be something that's a bit more interactive than you would normally find in a MOOC. So we have these meetings every couple of weeks to try and get a discussion going on what you're doing, how you're progressing, what issues you're having. Try to get the team together with people who are working on similar things as each other and get a bit of peer support. So moving along. Please note we will record these meetings and it'll be posted on YouTube as soon as we possibly can. We've reduced the number of sessions we're doing to just this particular session every 2 weeks. The vote came in and the ones who turned up this morning are quite happy to join in this evening, our time. And what we'd like to do for our first session is just to get to know everyone. So meet the people involved, and we'll do a quick intro in a second. Mostly it'll be myself and Savash in these sessions. Yiffy joined in this morning. He may join in this evening. But the others will come along as and when they're needed. So I'll start with a quick introduction of me. I think you've all seen videos of me before, but I'm here in person, not AI, really in person. I'm the Deputy Head of School for Electrical Engineering, Computing and Mathematical Sciences, which includes physics. So that's a nice short name for a school that we have. And yeah, I basically work in the area of IoT in health, rehabilitation, sensor networks, industrial IoT, and that sort of area. So Savash.
Hi everyone. I work in the same school as Ian, and my area of research is embedded systems, sensors, and more on the things part of IoT. So later on, I'll be giving a quick talk on use of sensors and hardware and microcontroller side of Internet of Things. We'll also have Dr. Yiffy Yen joining us a bit later. His area is similar to me, but also in area of applied AI and machine learning, as well as more on the communication and networking side of IoT. I look forward to hearing about your project ideas, and as you start making your submissions, I'll be one of the main contact points in kind of providing some feedback and marking your submissions.
Okay, the others that we have in the team, there's Dr. Hannes Herman. He's a specialist in algorithmic design, mathematical efficiency. So if you've got a problem with an algorithm or you're trying to make something efficient, he's the chap to speak to there. We have Dr. Valerie Maxwell. She's our Python guru. Anything to do with Python coding, data science, big data, predictive analytics, she would be the one to speak to. And Dr. David McMeekin, who is our spatial scientist software engineer. So if we're doing anything with location, and that's a really fun part of IoT, maps, directions, anything that uses spatial coordinates or is to do with the location, basically, of your devices or people, David will be along for that. He will actually be giving us a talk later on spatial sciences in one of these sessions. So if you do have a question and you think it's suitable for one of these particular people, please put that in the subject line of the query, and we'll make sure it gets to them. Put things up on the discussion boards, please. If you don't get an answer within a day or two, please use email as a follow-up, because we do get a little bit buried at times. And we have that IoT6, sorry, what is it? IoT, help me out here, Savash. What's the paste it in for me?
I'll post it in the chat box. So it's IoT capstone@curtin.edu.au, and
Yep.
if you send an email to that mailbox, we'll grab it.
Yep. So don't be shy. Send us a follow-up message if you're not getting an answer in the fairly quickly. So give us a day or two to reply, and then chase us up. So a couple of ground rules. We do record these, so we like everyone to be polite and respectful. We've got people from all over the world normally. So there's a lot of different cultures, different ways of looking at things. So bear that in mind when you're discussing things, if you wouldn't mind. If you want to speak, and we really, really do encourage this, we don't want to be talking at you for this entire hour that we're together. We want a two-way discussion. Raise your hand using the raise hand that's available in WebEx, and one of us will note that and be able to give you a chance to talk. Or if there's only a few of us online, feel free just to speak up and ask a question. It's good if you can mute your microphone when you're not speaking. Cuts out a bit of that background noise, and most of us are doing these from home, so we tend to have a few interruptions, like my dog barking or deciding he wants some attention and pushing me around. So if you could mute, that'd be great. Video is completely optional, but we really do like to see who we're talking to. So if you can have your video on, that's great. If you're not happy having a video on, that's also fine by us too. All right, so what we'd like to know now is who you are, where you're from, and if you have an idea for your project, let us know what that is. If you're not sure what you want to do, well, we can work out some general ideas now, if you like. So, Savash, could you run around the room and ask people to do their intro, please?
Of course, and Ian, you might want to stop sharing the screen so we can go back to full screen.
Stop that.
And before I go to everyone, I'll just share some general information, because this might be a question for you. The project you end up picking for this capstone course, it doesn't have to be a implementation of an idea. So if for example your education background is not technical, you're from a business background or from something that's non-engineering, what you end up proposing and submitting at the end could be more of a business case where you put the requirements and the design for this IoT solution rather than actually building the solution, building the physical part of the solution. Of course, if you go down that path, we will help you out, but that is an option as well. And as you start working on these ideas, yes, go ahead, Ian.
Yeah, just on that point, we generally have a range of people in this course from all sorts of backgrounds, and we can't really aim to turn every person into an engineer, nor would we really want to turn everyone into an engineer that would do the development. But really, it's a case of allowing people from all sorts of backgrounds to be able to communicate with the people who would build your system. So you've got enough of an understanding that you can describe what you need in the language and style that we would need as engineers. You can communicate to the software developers in what the software needs to be able to do, put proper bounds on it so you don't get feature creep, and really interact with the people that will be developing it for you. But we can also turn that around, because we as engineers, because both Savash and I are engineers, tend not to be very good at dealing with business people and marketing and those that do the commercial design, making sure that everything works as it should or looks as it should or is presentable. So from an engineer's perspective, looking at the business aspects and the return on investment is also crucially important, and getting an understanding of that, even though you may not be a business person, is highly relevant as well. So we're really trying to break down that communication barrier between the technical and the non-technical people. So it doesn't matter which side you sit on. This course is hoping to allow you to communicate with the people who are on the other side. Sorry, back to you, Sebastian.
All right, cool. And then one more thing I'll mention, because we've got that question before. If the idea you want to propose is linked to a company that you're currently working and you want to keep that as confidential, we have that option as well. So we can, you don't have to discuss the exact details of it as a part of these group discussions, and we can have a separate discussion about it. If that is the case, and if your idea is linked to where you're working, please let us know beforehand, because your upcoming Canvanizer assignment is a group assignment, and it's a peer assessed assignment. So that means other people within the course would be seeing your submission. So if you don't want that particular assignment to be seen by your peers because there's an NDA on it, in the submission link, just post a statement saying this submission is under NDA, and then email us your Canvanizer link directly. That way, it'll be us who are marking it. So that's the main part of what I wanted to cover. How about we'll start with just going off the list. Start with Justin, if you don't mind, introduce yourself. Let us know what's your education background and tell us a bit about the idea you have in mind for this project.
And also where you are. It's always nice to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
My name is Jospin Amisi. I'm from Democratic Republic of Congo, but currently I'm living in Malawi. I'm in Africa. I do speak French, Swahili, and English is like my second language. Yes, I'm having a diploma in business administration from Regis University. And also currently I'm doing my bachelor degree in computer science from University of the People. Yes. The next question is about the project.
Yeah.
Yes. I'm living in Malawi, and Malawi is a cultural based country whereby they are more focused on agriculture. But the challenge that is happening in Malawi is that they only have rain season for only 3 months. So it started from January up to March. So most of the time you find like whenever they want to start doing the agriculture, they want to plant some seed, it's only from January to March. After that, they can't keep on producing more. So my idea for the project that I'm trying to think that I may implement in Malawi is that creating a prototype, or creating a prototype that will be working like we have a solar panel. The solar panel will be tracking how the direction of the sun, and it will what you to do, it will be it's like irrigation system whereby people can still keep on producing more even if there is no rain season. So it will be having a solar panel, and the solar panel will track the direction of the sun, whereby it will get water from the ground. Apart from that, now when we have a place whereby, let's say like there is a where people want to plant their seeds, they will be having a sensor that will be detecting how is the soil, if there is water or there is no water, and now it will do the irrigation system. Yeah, so that's what I'm trying to outline, but it's still an idea, but I haven't expanded. Yeah, that's my project all about irrigation system, especially based in Malawi, because Malawi they are facing challenge when it's come to rainy season. It's only 3 months, so that's the project. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, agriculture is a huge area for IoT. We're doing a lot at Curtin in agriculture, because Western Australia is it's an agricultural state as well. So where we are, it's everything is mining and agriculture, and we've got probably very different issues to you, but a lot of the technology would be similar. And if you're looking at irrigation, we've got a fairly consistent water shortage in our state, so we need to take care of the resources that we have. There's also a lot of scope to get fairly clever with what you do in that area. So, for one example, you could look at integrating into the local weather bureau and looking to see if there's a forecast for rain or a level of humidity that would reduce the need to water at some point in the future. So you can actually stop your irrigation when there's a prediction of rainfall or heavy dew or high humidity where you wouldn't need to do it. There's all the things you could look at with water quality, look at the salinity of the water that's coming in, try and maintain the quality of the soil through that water that you're producing. So there is a lot you can do in that area, and it makes it pretty interesting.
One comment I'll make, Ian briefly mentioned it, like looking at those weather APIs, is recently we've started looking at potentially smart solar panels where they would move directions with the location of the sun, and especially like they're working with one of the companies who are working with the solar pedal shape version of solar panels, where it will allow a bit more of a movability and going to different directions based on the direction of the sun. I think one thing that could be interesting as you start learning a bit more about implementation of IoT in these and in solving these types of problems is we don't necessarily always have to have sensors to detect information. So, for example, if we have that, if we can just if there's internet at the location and we can tap into those weather APIs, we can get the direction of the sun and the optimal locations from there, rather than relying on, say, on a light sensor to detect the sun in real time. And that will save you probably on some sensor costs. And that will help with some of the tracking side of things. Whereas with some things, yes, you definitely want something localized there to rely on that information.
You can actually download that every now and again as an update to get the solar position. One of the advantages of not having a sensor to detect sunlight is you wouldn't have to worry about the placement of the sensor, so it can see the sun all the time. You wouldn't have to worry about dirt build-up on sensors, which would put them in shadow. So there could be quite a few reliability issues, and it'd be worth examining, is it worth having a sensor, or is using a online source a better solution in your environment? Hello, Yiffy, you've joined us.
Yes, I tapped him on the shoulder. He's been working on this project proposal for us. Just finished that one.
BAE one.
Yeah. All right. So thanks for that, Josephine. Manny, do you want to go next?
Nice to see you all. My name is Mani. Study-wise, I studied Bachelor of Computer Science. Work-wise, I'm working in Abbott. Abbott is a big pharma company, but what I'm working on is a nutritional part where we manufacture the Ensure, Pediasure, that kind of milk powder. Yeah, we are working in the milk powder drying plant. Yeah, we add more nutrition into the milk powder, we make it valuable. Yeah, actually, Australia is one of the big industry is about the milk, right? Yeah, something relevant to that. Yeah. So my work-wise, I'm working as an automation engineer in a powder plant. My work involves mainly handling PLCs are programmable logic controllers, and a SCADA system, where the operators give commands from the SCADA system, HMIs, and then the machines react to the command. Then we try to, and the PLC run all the programs, something like Arduino. The Arduino is like a very low level, but PLC is really high level, used in industries. We do have a lot of new features like doing a lot of computations, handling a lot of different formulas. Also, despite highly reliable, with have redundancy, all these things. So actually, why I'm started this is something like IoT is coming as a, if you work in industries, to get all the sensors modules are quite expensive side. So when we approach for advanced manufacturing solutions, what I see is IoT devices are quite cheap. It's easy to try, easy to test. Also, companies are moving on. It's like in moving the maintaining the new sensors, IoT devices, cost wise is cheaper. Also, we are getting a lot of lot of data compared to PLCs. PLCs, like we need to do wiring, all these things, but IoT devices normally is wireless, so that gives a lot of advantage. So what I thought is, when we try to do this, in our plant, we do have like motor failures. So what I thought of, to have like to have some kind of vibration analysis system from this IoT device, which can be mounted on the motors, so that to see is there any abnormal vibration going on. Also to see some kind of skin temperature, motor skin temperature. Normally when there's overload on the motors, then normally the skin temperature will increase. Also, when there's a bearing failures, will start to degrade, right? It will cause more vibration. So what I'm thinking is, can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Okay. What I'm thinking is to have some kind of cheaper version of vibration monitoring system, which I can develop from this learning. Yeah. Yeah, that's all from.
So was that a vibration monitoring system you mentioned?
Yeah, vibration monitoring system.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that on the motors directly, or is it on a belt system? Where are you actually looking for vibration?
It's mostly we do see most of the motor failures. So it's like more like a predictive maintenance before the motor failure. Of course, we want to do something.
Yeah. That's a common requirement for a lot of industries now.
Yeah.
Rod was talking about that, Savash, with Alcoa, particularly at the predictive maintenance on motors, and pumps and those sort of things.
Yeah. When these failures happen, right, there will be a lot of downtime, which hugely impact the manufacturing plant. If we can predict early, we can put this schedule maintenance in the when it's a cleaning time, all these things, so we can have a huge advantage for the benefit wise is a huge if we can predict the motor failures in advance. Yeah.
Certainly an interesting one, and it's definitely a common problem that manufacturing has, and also the mineral processing, same sort of problems.
One thing I'll comment on in terms of the costs that you mentioned, Manny. In a lot of cases, when you go in that industrial IoT space, some of the costs are going to be unavoidable because of the ruggedization on the sensors, as well as the specialized network connections that they might end up using. Because it then becomes the problem of you have a connected system in a critical infrastructure where some of the information that is being captured, and if that sensor is also tapped into your internal network, you don't want that to be a vulnerability. So when you go into that space, you have to be a bit more careful about just using some of the off-the-shelf type sensors. So one of the things I would suggest is, as a part of your initial research into the project, start looking at some of the interesting area about this would be looking at the wireless communication protocols in an industry, things like ISA 100, wireless HART, or even LoRa and private 5G that can be utilized, which gives you a bit more of a industrialized version of a wireless communication protocol rather than just relying on Wi-Fi or Bluetooth or those traditional stuff, which might not even be useful in an industrial setting, right? And then think about the different places that information flow is going to be going, because you have the sensor, going to potentially a base station where you're doing the analysis. It might get linked into a cloud database at some point. It might tap into the network that's already available on site. So some of those challenges and introduction of some of those these new system within the current environment is a very interesting area. That's something we've been kind of working on for a while. And an example of a project we did with one of our industry partners was using the Microsoft Sphere, so their embedded system IoT, the device where it gives you a secure connection to Azure cloud services, and like that we ended up kind of connecting one of their PLCs securely within the network to their cloud service. So there was a mix of encryption of the connectivity happening on the cloud side, and then on the device itself, on the Azure Sphere itself, there was some encryption being done there.
Yeah, it's also the registration of assets. So that if you're putting any actuators or sensors in, you want to make sure that it's the one you put in, not one someone else put in. Getting a bit of feedback from someone there. Not to worry. Yeah, so having the ability to register devices so that you know that's a trusted source of data is another area. But we could actually bring Dr. Reza Ryan in on any of the security aspects that you may come up against. But it's critically important that you look at security in any industrial setting. Milk powder probably isn't well, it is a critical industry because you need it, isn't something that would be attacked from a, what would you term it, from a governmental point of view, unlike defence or power, water, those sort of things. But a disgruntled employee could certainly do a lot of damage if they could break into your system. So it is critically important that you've got that security sorted out as well.
And it's a very...
I agree with you. Yeah, I fully agree with you, both of you, because in our cyber, when we introduce new networks into our system, we need to go for cybersecurity assessments. That's quite hard to go through, So most of the time we try to do it something like a isolated network, which can directly go through the GSM, correctly go to some cloud, so that we don't try to we are trying to create some like island inside the plant itself. Maybe looking at it. Yeah, thanks.
Oh, definitely very interesting idea. And as you can see, we get excited talking about different possibilities with these types of projects. All right, I'll move on to Talal. Do you wanna introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about your project idea.
Hi everyone. So my name is Talal, and I'm based in Jordan in the Middle East. Currently, I'm working as an escalation engineer at Microsoft. Before that, I was holding like multiple positions as a research and development technical team lead. But regarding the idea, I don't have an exact idea, to be honest. I have some areas of interest, for example, power management and anything related to automotive. So, for example, fleet management solutions, things like that. I initially had few ideas, but they are like not very, let's say, good to be implemented. So yeah, that's why I need your help to basically, if you can help me with a specific idea on those two areas.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you have any hobbies? Because believe it or not, hobbies are a really good way of coming up with some interesting ideas. We had some really good ones. One of my favorites I use all the time is looking at the health of horses. The guy was actually a vet, and he needed to develop a system to monitor horses that were out in paddocks remotely, couldn't go out to them all the time. And one of the key aspects that he used to look at the health of horses was the color of their mucus. So he developed a color sensor for horse snot that would report back to a internet dashboard. And it just shows that you can have some very strange things, but they can be very interesting. So, do you have any hobbies?
So yeah, my hobbies basically is electronics. So basically, I started studying software to be able to program microcontrollers, but that was like a long time ago. So right now I have all my electrics here at my home connected. I've created multiple things related to management, like energy management, and I've also implemented a few things related to my plants, how to like provide everything to them, using like soil humidity sensors, things like that. I also implemented some. I worked on some, let's say, energy management solutions here at home and for some other companies as well. But yeah, that's why I'm a little bit confused, or let's say I don't have a specific idea because I've worked on those. And if you do, I did a little bit of research, and basically there is a very large number of solutions out there regarding energy management and like smart homes. Before that, also I worked with tracking solutions, vehicle and fleet management solutions. I have a very good idea on those. I've also worked on, let's say, engineering a new device. But again, this is a very large solution, and there is a lot of already implemented solutions. So I was trying to find a specific area that we can enhance, or I find an idea that I can enhance on currently existing solutions, but I didn't find any ideas until now, to be honest.
I'm sure we can come up with something from that.
So I've got something. So you mentioned that you've played around with sensors throughout your own home, right? What if the project became, if you have kind of these individual IoT system taking care of different aspects. So if you might have some sensors in the garden, some security systems in the home, some other smart devices connected to a TV or a Google Home or Amazon Alexa or something like that. What if it became about trying to connect everything through a unified hub where you will end up with a dashboard where you're monitoring all of these different services and different ways of communicating with these devices under your own version of the smart home hub. I guess that could be something that's interesting.
Yeah, so I implemented something like that. So I already have, there is a smart mirror solution, or let's say idea out there, and I use that as my hub. So basically, right now I have a big screen at my home, acts as a mirror that will show you all the information, and you can basically start water pump from there and do everything from there. And it will also show you other aspects like energy consumption, things like that. Maybe if that can be like, let's say, used as the idea, that would be great.
What sort of things do you grow? You say you've got a garden.
No, it's not a garden. It's only like small plants, home plants. Yeah.
Okay. Was that one? Let's think on that, and we'll let Yiffy give a quick intro to himself while I have a little think.
Sure.
Hello, my name is Ife. I'm working as a researcher at Curtin Cisco Center for Networks. So my background is about software-defined network, IoT embedded system, and machine learning.
That was a quick intro, but yeah, he's done at the SDN and the AI applied to these sort of things. One thought you might come across. You say your interest is in the power side of things. in West Australia anyway, a lot of people have got the solar panels already. People are starting to get batteries. So we've got a little bit of storage capability in areas, but not everyone has it. People also have a very different way of utilising power. The patterns of the power usage is quite different. If you collected the information on when people are using power, you know how much storage they've got. You can look at the predicted energy production from solar by looking at the weather. If you had a system that could work out an efficient way of sharing that power in a microgrid. So if you have a group of houses in a block, 10, 20 houses, some have got battery backup and they're not going to use it. Other people are going to come home at 6 o'clock at night when the sun's gone down. They're not going to be able to use their solar to recharge their car. But other people have got battery that they're not going to be using. They could then charge the car and then draw power off them later on to charge the battery back up. So a way of scheduling and optimizing the power utilization from shared resources within those microgrids. It'd involve being able to read the energy storage from other people, work out what the power generation is given the weather conditions, solar and wind, mostly I would expect, and building up a schedule and predicting usage for that power so that people can share when they've got excess and repay it when needed. And try and level out that demand usage, because most of the usage people have is not during the day when solar's producing the most. So if you could grab extra storage or extra generation from your neighbours to charge your batteries up, you could then pay that energy back to them when they're not generating anything. Would something like that be interesting to you?
Yes, very interesting. But I have one thing regarding that. So basically, if it's, I can work on that idea, but I can't implement it in my country because there is like some kind of regulations how to use the solar panels and renewable energy. So you can't share any kind of, let's say, stored energy. You can send that energy back to the grid, but you can't store it at your own. But if it's for the sake of the project, yeah, I can do it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's very interesting.
We'd be able to give you access to some simulators, I believe, that would be able to assist you with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What else could we do? If you've already done a lot in the home automation, there's a huge demand for home automation for people with disabilities or people who are aging, so they can still live independently at home. That would change probably what you're looking for a great deal. So these would be people that you want to make sure that they're taking their medication, that they don't fall, that they're not sitting too long, looking at behavior patterns as well, so that in case where there's dementia starting to set in, they're not doing things repetitively or they're not forgetting to do things. So you'll have a case where a person with dementia starts to shower every half hour. And you want to be able to pick that sort of behavior up and say, this is not in the normal type of behavior that we're expecting, and alert the carers that, something is not going as well as it should. So that'd still be very much along the lines of your home automation, but looking at it from a slightly different perspective. And you could probably use what you've already got in place to develop that further.
So more of I think of it as more of an assistive technology in assisted living places, or maybe some retirement home places where it would be an idea of, well, you have your typical monitoring, but then if it's going to be an assisted living facility, what are some of the extra attributes that you would want monitored? And on the other hand, because it gives you room to add more sensors and more input methods throughout the house, as well as on the other hand, on the interface side, think about some more accessible ways of interacting with the whole system, of how the users would be able to utilize it. I think that would give you, because I get a sense that you'd like to also implement something physically as well. This would give you a chance to do a bit more of a hands-on implementation, as well as some part of it could be more on the design point of view, where you're defining it and designing the system and only implementing some elements of it. I think that would be interesting.
And if you really want to implement something very specific electronically, there's another one that sort of springs to mind, and it has to do with the same demographic, people with disabilities or the aging population, those with dementia, senility, those areas. Being able to tell if people have taken the correct medication at the correct time is also rather problematic with certain people. And I'm not sure if you have them in your country, but most countries have a blister pack which pharmacists make up with each morning, day, night medications all bundled together. So they just open one pack. Can you have a look for those, a picture of those, Sebash?
What are they again?
The medication blister packs.
So
pharmacy
it's like a
prepared.
package, right? That you have for each
Yeah.
day and for each.
That's
Okay.
right, yeah. And a device that would identify that the person is opening them at the right time
Mhm.
and actually taking their medication. So it'd be like an electronic box that would open up and dispense the that day's pills,
Oh, I see.
and it would ensure that at least they're going to the medication, they're taking it out and hopefully swallowing it.
Yeah, that's
Sharing the wrong screen. You're thinking about these ones, Ian?
You'll have to share your screen.
I'm not sharing. What am I? Oh, I haven't pressed share yet. Which one is it sharing? This one.
Yeah, that sort of thing. If you have a look at the pharmacists here actually make up a blister pack type, but to be more general, those ones would be ideal, yes. So they can be made up, and you open it up. You can send an alarm to the person saying it's time to take this particular medication. It'll only open the correct one up for them.
See, okay.
Yeah.
That's a cool idea. We should get one of our students to also work on it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great one.
And that would be very much electronics based. And of course, you report that all to a dashboard that the doctor or the carers can actually ensure that they're taking everything. They can look at any skip medications.
Yeah. I think that's a good one, and I'm very interested in working on something like that.
We can tie it into our pharmacology app.
Yeah. So the app Ian's talking about is we worked on this mobile application where it works like a Google Translate, but by hovering it over your prescription, and it would change the brand names to generic names. So it actually came to us from one of the GPs we are working with at Fiona Stanley Hospital, one of the Australian hospital in Perth. He was telling us one of his problem is because there's always these new brands of these new brand companies coming out with their brand name for the medication, and sometimes he would get patients going to them and, for example, rather than saying I'm taking paracetamol for something, they would say, oh, I'm taking Panadol or some other brand, and it's just the brand names are becoming too much that the GPs can memorize all of them. So this would be a situation where they'll just hover their phone over the prescription of their patients, and it would change it to the generic name that the doctor would be familiar with, which has become a bit obsolete now because there's been a legislation change where doctors are now they have to prescribe using generic names now. They can't prescribe brand names anymore. So that problem's kind of got solved that way. But I think that was an interesting example of using machine learning, because you're using machine learning to detect and that was linked to database. that was detecting the common brand names, and then we would know what each of those brands, what was containing in that brand name or the generic name, and excuse me, and then link that to any other medication that may have an adverse effect if you're taking them at the same time, and give the patient that information as well. So that was a fun one.
All right. Well, if that sort of suits, we can start having a look around at the way these pills are packaged and dispensed at the moment. Get some ideas on how you would actually create the physical device and what control will be necessary.
I have a few ideas, so I think I will start with this idea and do my research. So I think this is a great idea to start with. Thank you very much.
Cool.
That's what we're here for. We're lucky. We get to see hundreds of these sort of ideas every year. How many we've got? 160 honour students every year.
Yeah, it's getting close to 200 now.
A full year project. So yeah, we get a fair bit of exposure to this stuff. Makes life interesting. All right, I won't share my screen again. There's no real need because I only had one other thing just quickly to run through. That was just summing up the purpose of these meetings again. They are really there for you to ask questions. We do want it to be interactive, which has been good this evening. It's also so you can meet your course mates. Peer support is really, really useful. Just having someone to bounce your ideas off, someone to have a external look at what you're thinking of and what you are proposing. They can quite often come up with really constructive ideas to improve things. So get to know the people in the course with you. I think we've got somewhere around 20 students.
Yeah, thereabouts this time around.
Yeah, which is nice because it's easier to manage than when we first started running and we had, 150. That was a lot of fun and games. So you make use of the other people in the course. You're all here to learn. You're here by choice. So it's a great opportunity to learn from each other as well, particularly with people who are coming from a very different background to you. So if you find people who with a business background, they'll really be able to assist you with the business case and the canvas and some of the other aspects, particularly in the costing, which we'll do later on. And of course, the technical guys can help the business guys a fair bit too. All right. So for next fortnight, if you could have a bit of a think about any questions, try to work out what you'd like to ask ahead of time. It makes things far more interesting because that way we can actually get engaged with what you're working on. We'll start off next fortnight with a bit of a discussion on lean canvas and product specs, that sort of thing. But it won't be a very long talk. It's just to get things started, and then hopefully we'll get into a discussion like this further that evening. Okay, well, we've got a few minutes left. Anyone got any questions? Anything they'd like to raise? Feel free to say anything. Ask the meaning of life, which is 42. If not, we can sign off.
Yeah.
I'll get the recording up as soon as I can tomorrow in case you want to listen to this again.
And I'll mention this again, something that we mentioned at the top. Please feel free to email us. I've posted the email in the chat. And if there was, and if you don't hear back from us within a day or two, please feel free to send the email to us again so it pops up in the mailbox, because we'll get to busy periods in the semester, so suddenly the email might get lost in our mailboxes. So we can do that as well as you're making progress. So you don't have to wait for the next fortnightly session to start to ask your questions. So that option is always going to be open to you.
One thing we didn't discuss is we are open to discussing things with you out of sync with this if there's a need. Also, once the course is over, we're also very happy to be be there to assist if you're going to take the development further. And we've had a couple of these. Sebastian can talk about Santa's particular instance. But yes, once you finish the course, that's not the end of us if you don't want us to go away. But if you would like to continue talk to us about your project, your prototype, we're more than happy to do so after the course is done.
Yeah, so as Ian mentioned, if you're interested in continuing to work with us, so this example I've sent you, it was a collaboration we did with one of our students who was in Iraq at the time, and she was interested in tracking head movement of children with cerebral palsy. And so she has a son who has cerebral palsy. As a part of the course, she ended up kind of designing the IoT system, the sensor system for capturing that head movement. And after the course ended, we kind of collaborated with each other and ended up writing a paper on it. And it's been published it's an open access journal. I've just posted a link for that in the chat. So we can collaborate beyond this course if you are interested in developing that idea further. I don't know if Ian mentioned it in this session, but we've had a couple of people who've gone down the commercialization path of their IoT ideas. Some of them were in WA, some of them outside Australia. I think one of the ideas was for what was it, Ian, exactly? Monitoring.
It's monitoring the hot water system in, we think, Colombo from memory.
Yeah.
They utilise a shower head water heater. So you've got the power going directly to the shower rose. And it had no real temperature control. You just adjust the flow of the water to determine the temperature of the water. And it caused, apart from electrocution, a lot of people getting burnt when they didn't have a high enough water flow. So this gentleman established or developed a system for monitoring and adjusting water flow to maintain a constant, safe temperature. And he won his National Innovators Prize for that particular development.
So yeah, lots of fun things we can do together beyond this course, if that's something that you're interested in.
And we do talk a lot about the commercialization in one of the sessions. There's a lot of different ways of commercializing, either for money, philanthropic, self-interest, self-use. So we have a look at the different motivations and different ways you would cost things out, depending on what your driver is for the commercialization. All right then. Well, if there's nothing else.
Question in the chat: do you have a list of projects from other students? I can share some. I'll look back at the projects that we had in the past, and I'll share some of them in the coming sessions with you, because some of them ended up going down the commercialization pathway, and we would have had NDAs on the bigger topic. But I'll talk a bit more broadly about that in the next session. If you just remind me next time, I'll make sure to bring it up.
Yeah, if you could get a couple of examples up, that'd be great. From some of the past ones. Okay then. Well, thanks very much for joining us this evening. We look forward to the next couple of months with you, and yeah, feel free to contact us via email anytime.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Okay, I'll stop the recording.
Okay, well.